Hello everyone, I'm Shruti Vijayvargiya from BISP Solutions, and today I'm talking about the Excel financial functions. Excel financial functions have been made available to execute a variety of financial calculations, including calculations of yield, investment valuations, interest rates, internal rate of return, asset depreciation, and payments. So these financial functions can be, however, classified into so many different categories. There are so many different categories. First one is the investment value functions, internal rate of return functions, next asset depreciation function, next payment functions, next dollar conversion, next yield functions, and the last one is the price functions. So today I am talking about the investment value functions, and this video I will show you the use of FV schedule and NPV function. So the first function is the FV function, which stands for the future value. Future value is one of the most important concepts in finance. This function calculates the future value of an investment with periodic constant payments and a constant interest rate. So this function is originally calculated like this: PV 1 plus I to the power n, where PV is the present value, I is the interest rate, and n is the number of years. But in Excel, it will be calculated with the help of this formula, and this function takes 5 arguments. First one is the rate, is the interest rate per period. Next we have NPER, which is the number of periods for the lifetime of annuity. Next we have PMT, and this is an optional argument that specifies the payment per period. If the PMT argument is omitted, then PV argument must be supplied, where PV is the present value of the annuity, and this is also an optional argument, and it is the amount that a series of future payments is worth now. And last argument is the type. This is also an optional argument that defines whether the payment is made at the start or at the end of the period. And the type argument can have two values, 0 or 1. 0 represents that the payment is done at the end of the period, and 1 represents that the payment is done at the beginning of the period. And as I say, it is an optional argument. If we omitted this argument, then it takes the default value 0, and which denotes that the payment is done at the end of the period. So let's look at an example in Excel. I have an example of FV function. Suppose we have a bunch of years from 1 to 5. We have deposited 1000 in every 5 years. So first I will show you manually how this function calculates and how the value of future value is calculated. Next I will show with the help of the every function of Excel. So first, this is the year, this is the deposit amount. Suppose we have a opening balance for the first year is 0, and we have an interest rate of 10%. So the interest for the first year will be calculated manually. It is the sum of opening balance and deposit amount with times interest rate. So for the first year it will be $100, and I'm putting here before E3 dollar sign, so that I does not have to write this formula for all the years. I just copy pasted. Okay, and the closing balance will be calculated, and it is the sum of opening balance, deposit amount, and the interest. So the closing balance for the first year is 1100, and this closing balance will be the opening balance for the next year. So the interest will be calculated. I'm just copy paste this formula, and the closing balance for the next year or second year will be 2310. So For the third year, this closing balance of second year will be the opening balance for the third year, and just copy paste this formula for all the years, so you will get the this value, and this is the FV value for 5 years. For the fifth year, this will be the FV value, this value 6750. So, but in Excel, it will be calculated in simple way by just select the cell, type an equal sign, select the function you want to calculate FV, so select FV, and the first argument is the rate, which is the interest rate. We have 10%. Next is the number of periods. We have number of periods is 5 because we are calculating FV for the 5 years. So the NPR value is the 5. Next we have PMT, which is the PMT is payment per period. So every year we deposit 1000. So this 1000 will be our PMT because it is the payment per period value. Okay. And then we have PV. PV is an optional argument. If we pass this value, then we don't need to pass PV. But we have PV value, which is the opening balance. This represents the present value. And next we have type, because we are working at the beginning of the year, so I type 1. Next, close the function. If everything is right, then the value will be calculated. And see, this value and this value are same. So this is the manual calculation for FV, and this is the FV calculation using Excel function. Now, next we have FV schedule function. The next function of investment value function is the FV schedule function. The Excel FV schedule function calculates the future value of an investment with a variable interest rate. Variable interest rate means that we have so many interest rate and only one principal, and we are calculating an investment with a variable interest rate. And the calculation is done like this: principal into 1 plus rate 1 into 1 plus rate 2 into 1 plus rate 3, while rate is the interest rate. But in Excel, FV schedule does take two arguments. First one is the principal, the present value of the investment, and second is the schedule. It is an array of values that provides the schedule of interest rates to be applied to the principal. And if provided as a range of cells, this may contain numeric values or be empty, and empty cells denotes a zero interest rate. Also note that an annuity is a series of constant cash payments made over a continuous period. For example, $1,000 deposit to the bank would be represented by the argument minus if you are the depositor. If we deposit the amount, then it will be denoted by the minus sign, and if the argument is denoted by plus signs, that means if you are the bank. If you are the bank, then the amount will be denoted with the plus sign because the amount is coming into your account, and if the amount is going out from your account, that will be denoted by minus sign. Every schedule returns the future value of a lump sum with changing future interest rate. So how this function actually works, we see it with the Excel example I have. This is FV schedule function where we have the principal rate of 10,000, and there are three interest rates. First year interest rate is 4%, second year 5%, and third year is 6%. So so just click on the cell, type an equal sign, select the FV schedule function, and pass the references of the cells. First one is the principal, which is the 10,000. and pass the schedule list from sell this to sell this. Then write parenthesis and then enter. So this value is the FV schedule value. The FV schedule function calculates the future value of a given principal amount by applying a series of compound series rates. FV schedule function comes in very handy when you wish to calculate the future value of an investment based on variable and adjustable interest rates. And also note that the values in the schedule argument must be numbers or empty cells. Any other cells will cause hash value error. Empty cell values are assumed to be 0. Next function of investment value function is NPV, which stands for net present value. Net present value is a popular measure of profitability used in corporate budgeting to assess a given project's potential return on investment. Because of the time value of the dollar, NPV takes into account the compounding of the discount rate over the duration of the project. So the original calculation of NPV is like that. C0 is represented by minus sign because it is the initial investment plus sum of I equals to 1 to t. T is the time. Ci divided by 1 plus r to the power I, where Ci is the cash flow, r is the discount rate. But in Excel it will be calculated like this. NPV, first argument is the rate, it is the discount rate, and then we pass the values which are the numeric values and which denotes the payments and incomes. And also note that negative values are treated as payments and positive values are treated as income, and after that we plus the initial investment. Okay, so let's understand this with the help of an example. I have an example of NPV. Suppose we have a bunch of cash flows from year 0 to 4. Cash flow is $350 are going out, so it will be represented by the minus sign because it is going out and it is the initial investment done by us and it is going out in the 0th year. At the end of the first year, we have the cash flow of $100. At the end of the second year, we have the cash flow of $200. At the end of the third year, we have the cash flow of $150. And at the end of fourth year, we have the cash flow of $75. So, how to calculate the net present value of all this cash flow? And we have the interest rate of 5%. So, in other words, if the cost of our money is 5%, if we put the money in bank, we get a 5% interest rate on this. So it is better. It is better to put the money in bank or to put our money on this venture. On this venture. The way we compare to that so that we can find out the net present value. If the net present value is positive, that is better to put money in this venture. If the net present value is negative, that is better to put the money in bank and on 5% interest rate. So first we calculate the present value for the first 0th year. So it will be calculated like this by putting equal sign, select the cash flow, it will be divided 1 plus, we have interest rate of 5% for the 0th year. So to the power 0. So for the first year it will be $350. I'm just putting dollar sign in front of F3 cell so that I don't have need to copy this function again. I just copy it for all the cells. So you have the net present value for all the years and NPV for all the 5 years will be calculated It is just a sum of all the values from this cell from this cell to this cell. So this is the NPV value. But in Excel, we can calculate it by selecting the cell, putting an equal sign, select the function NPV and passes the argument. First one is the rate, and now from the values from except the initial investment past the references of all the cells, and after that plus this cash flow. So this value is same as this. So this is the manual calculation and this is the Excel NPV function. If you understand all this and if you like my videos and if you have any queries, then ask me and comment us and I will answer you. Thank you.